As of March 2025, ChatGPT has around 122 million daily users and 400 million weekly active users, processing over 1 billion queries daily. So it's no secret that we're all using ChatGPT in some form. But here's the big question. Can it actually handle the tough questions like very specific questions related to investing and personal finance? I decided to find out. In this video, I'm putting ChatGPT to the test to see how well it can answer real financial questions. You probably know that ChatGPT has a free version, a paid version, and within the paid version, there's now a new feature called the deep research mode. I haven't tried it yet, but I've heard some great things about it, so I'm excited to see how it performs. And of course, as any ChatGPT user knows, that crafting the right prompt makes all the difference. So here's the prompt that I'll be using. Assume I'm 25 years old right now, currently earning $60,000 a year with no significant debt, and my dream is to retire wealthy and financially comfortable. Map out the exact financial steps and actions I should take over the next 5, 10, and 20 years. Include how much I should ideally save, the specific ways I can meaningfully boost my income, and which investment vehicles I should prioritize, and important financial milestones to aim for along the way. Alright, let's put this prompt to the test, starting with the free version of ChatGPT. I copy-pasted the prompt and hit enter and let it work its magic. It took about a minute or two, and the response was surprisingly solid. Right away, you can see that it's super organized. The advice is broken down into a 5-year, a 10-year, and a 20-year plan with clear milestones along the way. For the first stage, ages 25 to 30, it recommends building an emergency fund with 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. Solid start. Then it says to max out your 401k, especially if you have a company match, and then open a Roth IRA and focus on low-cost index funds. Could not agree more. It also throws in practical tips like boosting your income through freelancing, rideshare gigs, or monetizing your hobbies. Again, love that. And then there's my favorite part. It recommends investing 20% of your income and highlights the S&P 500 as the smart, low-cost option. That's exactly in line with my personal investing philosophy. By age 30, it gives you milestones, how much you should aim to earn, and how much you should have invested. Moving on to the 10-year plan, it's more of the same good stuff. Continue maxing out your retirement accounts, buy your first property either as a rental home or your prime residence, and ideally go for a multifamily to generate some cash flow. Again, very good advice here. Then there's the 20-year plan, and while a lot of it is stay the course, keep investing, diversify into real estate, and so on, it adds a note about becoming more conservative as you approach your 40s and your 50s. It even sets a target of $1 to $2 million, mostly through investments and real estate. Personally, I agree, but I know that some of you watching might not love the idea of dealing with tenants or property management, and that's fair. Overall, I was impressed. Very clear, actionable, and honestly, it's very well written for a free version of AI. Next up, the paid version of ChatGPT. Same prompt, but this time we're supposed to get smarter responses because it is the paid version. So let's see if it lives up to the hype. Right off the bat, I noticed one thing. It's a lot less wordy, and honestly, I like that. It's easier to read and more to the point, and the information is laid out in clear bullet points. Here's the thing. The actual advice, it's not that different from the free version. Sure, there are a few small additions like the mention of an HSA for tax advantage medical savings and some book recommendations at the end. Solid stuff, no doubt, but does it feel like a big leap in quality from the free version? Not really. But if you were expecting groundbreaking insight just by paying for it, you might be a little underwhelmed. That said, we're not done yet. Let's move on to the third and the most intriguing option, the deep research mode. You only get 10 of these per month, so they're clearly saving it for the heavy hitters. Let's see if this one actually brings the wow factor. Alright, now for the third and the most advanced option, the paid version of ChatGPT with the deep research mode on. I pasted the same prompt, and right away, this one felt different. Instead of just spitting out the answers, it asked for a series of personalized questions. And these questions were good. These questions were really good and personalized. First, it asked, what does financially comfortable mean to you? I put $100,000 a year, but obviously that is going to vary depending on your goals. Second, am I currently saving or investing? I put no. Third, am I open to side hustles or entrepreneurship? I mean, most 25 years old probably are, so I put yes. Fourth, do I anticipate any major life expense? I entered buying a home. And fifth, risk tolerance. I would say high, especially if you're in your 20s and 30s, maybe even in your 40s. Once I answered everything, I hit enter, and to be honest, I had to pause the recording because this thing took 19 minutes to generate a full response. I literally went to make coffee and it wasn't done when I got back. But let me tell you, it was worth the wait. This isn't just a response. It's basically a personalized financial playbook. It even lists the sources that it pulls data from, so you can verify the data yourself, which I thought was pretty awesome. Right off the top, it hits you with the 4% rule. If you want to generate $100,000 a year in retirement income, you will need around $2.5 million invested. Then it breaks the goal down into 5, 10, and 20-year strategies with detailed asset allocation recommendations for each stage of life. For example, at 25, it suggests 80 to 90% in stocks, a little bit in bonds, some real estate, and a cash buffer. Solid advice. Then it goes further. Career guidance, tips from LinkedIn articles, even a recommendation to switch jobs between ages 27 and 30 to boost your salary. That's some real depth. It lays out milestones by age. By age 30, you should ideally have no high interest debt, a fully funded emergency fund, $100,000 invested, which I thought was a bit ambitious, but it's doable, retirement accounts in place and maxed out, and be preparing to buy your first home. And from 30 to 35, it's building onto that momentum. Maybe getting into real estate, scaling your income, and doing a midpoint financial checkup by 35. From there, it gradually shifts your strategy as you approach 40s. More bonds, smarter asset allocation, and entering retirement with a paid-off home to boost your net passive income. I won't read the whole thing, obviously, but here's the bottom line. This is on another level. It's detailed, it's personalized, and it's incredibly well written. Financial advisors should be worried. But here's one thing I would do differently next time. Be more specific in the prompt. I should have mentioned whether I want to focus only on real estate or just index funds, or avoid entrepreneurship altogether, because it included all three. It gave advice on rental properties, index investing, and even starting a business, which is all great stuff. But if you want something more focused, your prompt has to reflect that. Also, at the start of the passage, it tells you that you need $2.5 million invested if you're going to be using the 4% rule. But then it talks about investing in real estate as well. I mean, if you have rental income, then that $2.5 million should drop significantly. So it's a bit of everything. I should have been more specific. Again, it's highly personalized, but if you're specific, my God, this thing is brilliant. At the end of the day, none of this is groundbreaking or brand new. ChatGPT did not reveal some secret financial formula we haven't heard before. But what it did do, though, was reinforce something most of us already know deep down, but sometimes need to hear again, and that is increasing your income. I've said this before in a video about someone making $19 an hour. It's nearly impossible to build serious wealth if your income is stuck. You can only cut back so much. Eventually, the only way forward is up, and that means growing your income. Interestingly, all three versions of ChatGPT, the free, the paid, and the deep research mode, all emphasized on that point, that your income needs to go up. Whether it's through a 9-to-5, a side hustle, or starting something on your own, your income growth has to be your priority as you age. The other thing that all three versions had in common, well, the core wealth building vehicles haven't changed. Stock market, real estate, business. That's it. Now, of course, this is where it becomes personal. If you're not into real estate, of course, just focus on stocks. If stock market isn't your thing, maybe you should double down on a business. Personally, I like all three. That's my approach, to diversify and build across multiple streams. So no, ChatGPT did not reinvent the wheel. But sometimes hearing the same timeless advice presented clearly with a plan can be the nudge you need. Increase your income, invest the difference, and keep doing it year after year.